Blessings, everyone, and welcome back. I have Adam Barralet of Crystal Connections here with, and Adam, you are an astrologer yourself. You have it on your website. How long have you been practicing?
I did a really great 2-year course with a really experienced astrologer about 4 or 5 years ago now. So I haven't totally fleshed out my experience, maybe to the extent you have, but in working with the energies of the planet and the planets above us, obviously I think that's an integral part. And so, yeah, it's something that I think we're both really passionate about this. When we often hear about astrology and maybe kind of pop culture astrology, there's a lot of, oh no, there's a retrograde, oh no, something's happening. And it's like that bad news sells better than good news. And whether it be here on planet Earth or up in the heavens, everything is always looking for harmony and balance. And I think what we want to really share today is this idea of the planets aren't bad and causing bad things to happen. It's about working in harmony with them, and that they can actually be quite fortuitous. Even when we look at those kind of planets that have a bad rap, like maybe Mars or Saturn, as we go on in these conversations as time goes on as well. So yeah, I think there's so much blessings for working and understanding the energies of the planets. And I'm really excited to talk a little bit about astrology and also gifts here on planet Earth that can help us do work with these energies coming down from the heavens.
Yeah, I got to give a special shout out to my friend Brendan, also known as Halseer, because he and I are both very passionate about kind of coming in as devil's advocate for Saturn and really making the point of being like, look, Saturn is really just more like that hard-assed headmistress or that hard-ass professor, really just wants the best for you. And so, yeah, I'm all about it. And when it comes to, working with planets, including Saturn, one of the things that we got to remember is that working with the planets is not new news. I always tell people who ask me, how did you get your start working with planets and astrology? And I'm like, this goes way, 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 way back. But it wasn't because I was, studying Linda Goodman or any of the, the New Age books that kind of came out of the 60s and 70s that sort of plowed the road for a lot of the astrology we hear today. It's studying from, the mystery schools and magical practice and ceremony, really interacting, meditating, using the energies of planets in ceremonies and crafting. And I think a bit of that coming into our experience, we can take the fatalism out of the astrology experience. I think you'd agree that a practitioner or an astrologer that is really in it when it comes to, knowing their stuff and having their energy and their act in order just does not suffer the astrology the way somebody who might leave it up to a fatalistic attitude would. Would you agree?
I would totally agree. And I think I may have used this analogy in one of our earlier conversations, but when the weather forecast tells us that it's going to be snowing and a blizzard outside, we don't put shorts and a singlet on and go out for the day. And that's exactly what astrology is. It's something like tarot, like working with plants or crystals that has stood the test of time for thousands of years. And we often hear these new craze things come up, and then a decade later they've disappeared again. But with astrology, once we people have worked with it for generations, and once we understand it, we know what to expect and we prepare for that. And we can either prepare with this negative attitude of, oh, this is going to suck, or we can prepare for it and go, this is an opportunity. And just like every day in life, astrology kind of is just telling us what to expect.
Absolutely. So in this video, we're going to be talking about Mercury, how to understand Mercury, how to connect to Mercury's vibration, unique energy, some advice for how you can actually make Mercury, including Mercury retrograde, work for you. Not with an attitude of, oh, how do I survive it? Oh my goodness. But how to actually get the most of the energy that is already there. So Adam, when it comes to the realm of essential oils and planets, you and I both have, of course, our own, list of recipe cards, but what have you brought for us today?
When it comes to any of the planets, there are some traditional attributions of planets being associated with planets, and some are a bit more subjective that I'm going to share with you today. one aspect that I do really resonate with comes from ancient Greek and Roman times is that actually often look at the color of the flower of the plant. And as we run through the colors very briefly, white flowers are the moon, red flowers are Mars, yellow flowers are Mercury, purple are Jupiter, pink are Venus, black or deep blue are actually Saturn, and orange is the sun. So any plant that has a yellow flower has some Mercury energy about it. Now, if the oil actually comes from the flower, we know that oils come from all different parts of the plant. But if we're looking at oils that actually come from the flower, then it has a really strong power association with that planet. So when it comes to yellow flowers, the biggest one, probably the most well-known one that comes to my mind, and I think many other people as well, is the beautiful Ylang Ylang that comes from many tropical countries. You know, Madagascar is a common place that it comes from. Now, the really interesting thing about Ylang Ylang is that it is an amazing essential oil for sleep. And it's very much, whereas other oils, maybe lavender or vetiver or cedar, would calm down the body, Ylang Ylang is renowned for calming down the mind. Right. Now, we know that what Mercury actually governs is that intellectual and that logical mind. Yes. So when we're laying in bed, when we can't get to sleep, or during the day, if that mental state or that intellectual state is not in that harmonious or balanced place, this is where Ylang Ylang is absolutely amazing. There's been research with people with different mental disorders where Ylang Ylang has helped to calm them down and allow us to come back into harmony and to enjoy life. And when we think about the god that Mercury is named after, he was a trickster, he was playful, he was joyous. And Ylang Ylang is also an aphrodisiac oil. Now, how does this help me get to sleep, but also an aphrodisiac? Isn't that kind of a contrast? Well, not really, because if we think about when we're stressed, when we're uptight, when there's anxiety kind of running through our veins, we're not in the mood for any type of pleasure, whether it be sexual or otherwise. So Ylang Ylang helps us just to come in, relax, enjoy the pleasures of life, and enjoy the pleasures of being with another individual as well. So it all ties in really greatly. So I think when you're having any challenge that's mercurial associated, Ylang Ylang is going to be a really nice one to help you just relax and enjoy the experience.
Would you say that Ylang Ylang would actually be good for studying and concentration, or would you recommend maybe a different mercurial herb for that focus on, because Mercury being the planet of also, intellectual integration, haste, speed, communication, of course, the expression of our intellect, epiphany, all of that. With that concentration of thought, that focus, would Ylang Ylang be good for the application of that, or would we probably recommend that to calm down and maybe bring in something else for the concentration portion?
Yeah, I'd go Ylang Ylang more for calm the farm down. Mm-hmm. When we want that focus and that clarity and that mental agility, this is where I go for lemongrass. So lemongrass, to understand an essential oil, often you go back to the plant. This is an essential oil is a gift. It's the essence of that plant. It's almost the soul of that plant. So when we look at lemongrass, what is it? It's these long blades of grass, almost like a sword. And I often refer to lemongrass as being the sword of light. So what lemongrass is renowned for on a physical level, amazing for detoxing the body. If you can incorporate that into your diet, if you've got a high grade essential oil, or cleaning the home or diffusing, it helps the body to actually detox. So what it does on the mental realm and on the metaphysical realm is it actually helps to clear away clutter, like a sword of light cutting through all the uncertainty, all the muck, all the confusion. Yeah. So when we go to challenges with that mercurial energy where we're not getting that mental agility, lemongrass is going to be really great in that way to bring clarity and that deeper understanding of what's actually happening and what you need to focus on.
I like that. It very much brings in that doctrine of signatures, understanding of, how as above, so below, or as below, so above. Now, of course, that also comes from the Emerald Tablets of Thoth. But when we talk about the doctrine of signatures, a lot of that actually corresponds to, look, if what it does on the physical is what it's also doing on the spiritual, on the etheric, which is why you see a lot of the more peppery oils and herbs clearly used for, getting rid of, unwanted energies or negative entities and things like that. And when we think about lemongrass itself, in particular with the cutting, anyone who's actually handled lemongrass before, it's very easy to get your own paper cuts. It's very easy when it's strong, when it's very much, very healthy, very hydrated, not dehydrated. It's kind of easy to hack your hands up a little bit if you're not careful. I also want to just mention, because I have a cat, and lemongrass and cats do not mix. Nobody should be applying essential oils to their animals anyway, just because, again, you don't know. But lemongrass, just as cedar, can be highly toxic to cats and dogs. So I just want to make sure that that's also out there, because I'm a big animal lover. When it comes to how we actually go about putting our oils to use, obviously just wearing it or diffusing it or burning it isn't enough. So wouldn't you recommend that it's time that we make sure that we are using these things mindfully, maybe by, of course, look, if we're gonna put it on because we're dealing with this, then that's also the time to do this other thing, right? Whatever it is, the physical, right? Do it in the physical. Wear it as a part of supplementing your activity. Don't just wear it and go sit down and watch Love Island or something. Go and do something with the energy that's coming through, because that's how the mojo gets working.
That's kind of what happens in Disney and that type of thing. Manifestation is using things and surrounding yourself with things, whether it be your thought forms or it be oils or crystals that hold the same vibration to what you want to attract. And then as you go out into the world and you act as in that vibration, the universe will match that. Oils, crystals, all these different things, angels, they work as support network to help you hold that vibration of where you want to be. So if you want to be more focused, we work with lemongrass to help us keep more focused, but we also need to take that action to do that. Same if we want to relax the mind and calm the mind down. We work with Ylang Ylang, and with the mind, diffusing is a really powerful way to do that. But we also need to take actions to help us relax. We can't stay in stressful reactions and reacting stressfully and then expect Ylang Ylang to do all the work for us currently.
One of the things that I wanted to, kind of mention with that is that, oils like this can, of course, be used to supplement you when Mercury is doing something else. When you have Mercury retrograde, or you're in the middle of a square, or there's, some astrologer has said something, that we've got this opposition, or he's conjunct Pluto. If you feel that Mercury, or even your Mercury in your natal chart, is compromised in some way at a certain time, this is a good way to replenish that energy and to balance it out. One of the biggest challenges I think people have is they think that, okay, Mercury is just it's the smallest planet, but it's bigger than me. There is no way I can contend or exist with it doing what it's doing. And the truth is that you've just got to get on the same page, get into alignment with what Mercury is doing, energetically speaking. Because when he's retrograde, right, it's not to say that there is this, big, horrible, everything sucks, all of your unaddressed issues are coming back to torment you. It's just a time where Mercury is creating a different energetic weather effect so that we can have a different experience. And usually it comes with review, recycle, or release, right? We are going through this process of reality editing. That's how I like to look at it, right? We are going over our experience and we are editing. And the cool thing about that is lemongrass in particular, the oil you mentioned, funny enough, is used in a lot of reversal work. Traditionally, it's actually one of the chief oils in, and we'll go back to root work here, in Van Van, which is a old recipe. It's a very, very old recipe. And what lemongrass does is that it serves the process of reversing something that maybe has, gone down a road we don't want it to, right? Now, of course, I'm talking magic, I'm talking ceremony, I'm talking work, but it can assist you if you are also trying to maybe do the work of reversing something that's happened. Say you are trying to reverse something that maybe went wrong in a conversation, or you are trying to reverse something that you wish you could take back that you did, and you wish you didn't do it, whether it's firing off that email to reverse course on something, taking something back off the table, setting things right where they may have once been not right. That's a great lemongrass quality. And so funny enough, lemongrass can actually serve both Mercury direct and Mercury retrograde. It really all depends on the, I guess you could say, on the person to really be the one to take ownership of the opportunity to do that, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, definitely. And just as a side note, with that reversing kind of energy as well, just throw in a little crystal. One that's renowned for being really good for that kind of work is known as lavakite, which is spelled Lavvikite, sometimes also known as Norwegian moonstone. It's a kind of a black grey with little bits of glitter in it as well. And that's a renowned one for, if black crystals work like sponges and absorb unwanted energies. So when something's been put out into the world, you're like, quick, it's like trying to reverse it back, recall that email or recall that intention.
Right.
Lavakite really good for kind of like that energetic sponge. So I'd throw that in there as well. I wanted to, if it's okay with you, with astrology and the retrogrades, the way that I've been teaching them is sometimes if you're new to astrology, understanding exactly what's happening with the retrogrades can be a little bit overwhelming. Yeah. So I have an analogy that I find works really, really well for each of the planets, including Mercury. So obviously what happens in a retrograde is the planets all travel along a path in the sky, the same path that the moon and sun are going. And what will happen, it's not actually doing this, but what retrograde means, it looks like it starts going backwards in the sky. And that's just, I guess, for want of a better term, an optical illusion because of where we are, the sun is and the planet is.
Right.
But I like to think of each of the planets as being like our parents or our helpers or our guides in that way. And when they go into retrograde, they stop helping us. They go on a holiday.
Yeah.
So if we think about Mercury, what do we know about Mercury from the real 101 levels? It's to do with the intellectual mind. It's to do with short trips. It can be to do with electronics such as your phones and your computer, things that allow us to communicate in that type of way. So all those things that Mercury is normally helping us with,
right?
It's like for about 3 weeks, which is a Mercury retrograde kind of period, you're on your own, Tiger. And this is where the test comes in, or the challenge, or the opportunity to learn is really, really powerful. It's like when we are 16, 17, 18 or whatever, and our parents go away for the weekend. Now you're at home by yourself and you can either fall on the ground and cry and go, it's Mercury retrograde, I can't do it anymore. Or you can put your big pants on, get your Ylang Ylang out to calm the farm down, get your lemongrass to focus the intellectual mind a bit more. Yes. And you do things. And this is where you'll see in pop culture astrology, they talk about reading contracts properly. It's just slowing down and checking because the intellectual mind's not that great. Leaving a little bit early for work because short trips, you're not getting Mercury support. Making sure your phone's charged, backing up your computer. And these are where this kind of pop culture thing comes from. Mm-hmm. And this is where the opportunity is. Right. What we often find, obviously, Mercury is to do with communication. And depending, each Mercury retrograde will have a different flavor based in which sign of the zodiac it's in on that. But you'll find that communication falls down a little bit during Mercury retrograde, written and verbal. So here, we can blame Mercury retrograde, or you can go, I said something and everyone thought that I was being a total asshole and being really aggressive. That was not what I intended. Now, it's either their fault for not understanding me, or it's my fault for realizing that maybe I'm not the top communicator I thought I was, and how can I improve my communication next time as well? So the little trip ups in a Mercury retrograde is because Mercury is not giving you a hand, because it's seeing if you can stand up on your own 2 feet, and it's an opportunity to learn, improve, and then you'll get that supportive energy coming back as the planet goes direct again. And this is where I drop into those oils, I drop into those crystals of whatever planet we're talking about. So that's how I like to approach it.
It's a great way to look at it because it's about learning how, especially in the case of Mercury, to be proactive with taking initiative with things that you need to actually follow a healthy pace. Because with Mercury retrograde, things can either speed up and kind of go off the rails, or they can slow down or even just come to a grinding halt. I also think that because we have so much information about astrology available, right? It's out there, guys. You're on the internet. You know when Mercury retrogrades are coming. You don't even need an astrologer to tell you anymore. It's just there. You can always be proactive in that respect. I do a lot of readings for investors and for realtors, and and for people who like to really, take astrology into consideration when it comes to, even publishing their books, or buying and selling houses, flipping and things like that. And one of the things I always tell people is like, look, if you see a Mercury retrograde coming, then you need to be proactive about it. Is this something that is strong enough to survive it? Because it probably is. Here's the thing: Mercury retrograde is not going to just like dash all your hopes and dreams. Is it something you're going to have to keep an eye on, or is it so delicate that you need to do it now or you need to do it after? It's okay, but once you set the foundation going into a Mercury retrograde, you're okay. When it comes to buying and selling houses, for instance, I go, look, probably not a good idea to go into escrow during a Mercury retrograde, to actually set everything in motion for the completion of a sale. Probably not. You probably want to keep that negotiation time open. But if you're in escrow and then Mercury retrograde hits, you're in the clear. It's all about being proactive and just paying attention to what can you get set and ready to go. That's all we have to do. If you're caught by surprise by Mercury retrograde, you really got to pay attention to your blind spot.
Exactly. It's, again, that weather forecasting. It's just like, don't have an outdoor wedding in December in the northern hemisphere or in June down here, because it's probably going to get ruined by rain and snow and cold weather and that kind of thing. So just know what they're and plan accordingly, and use these gifts that we're talking about, such as the lemongrass and these types of oils, to just help you be a bit more on the ball and work your way through it.
For sure. And I mean, there's all kinds of extra crafty things you can do with this stuff, guys. Also, if you don't have access to the oils, dried lemongrass is fine. Just keep it out of the hands of your cats and dogs. And, if you want to even apply a bit of, ceremony, a bit of magic, make a sachet, make something where you are applying your energy in preparation, right? And keeping that vibration, right? That's why we do magic. That's why we make talismans. That's why we work with crystals. They amplify intention and they hold intention. You can, of course, set yourself up to keep vibing what you want to vibe consistently. Do the practical work and the manifestation work, as we've been talking about here, right? Set yourself up for success. But if you also want to hold a unique frequency, or you want to help this energy go to work for you, it really all depends on what you're comfortable with. Now, before we go, because I realized we did our thing and we went on a lot and very, very quickly, as we normally do. Adam, I do want to say thank you again so much for coming on. It's always a pleasure to have you visit. I think this is going to really assist a lot of people, especially when it comes to just, understanding how energy and alchemy really, 90% of what's going on is what's going on because of how it's interacting with what's in our space. And the more we learn how to be responsible stewards of our space, the more of our space starts to turn into exactly what we desire it to be. And so I really, really appreciate that, helping to show people where you can, manifest and, of course, transform your experience through these situations, because as astrologers, how hard it can be sometimes to deprogram that fatalist kind of mindset, that idea of things being set in stone. And it's like, no, it's just a tide. It's not set in stone. This energy is a tide. Are you going to get off the beach? Are you going to swim? Or are you going to, stand perfectly still and let the tide do whatever it wants to do? You always have a choice. So I really appreciate you coming out and helping out with that there. Were there any closing thoughts you had before we close up?
No, I think you summed that up perfectly. That, the universe is always wanting to work with us, not against us. And all we need to do is work out which way the tides are going and swim with the tide and downstream, not upstream. And working with these gifts of Gaia, whether they be crystals, essential oils, or anything else that resonates with that energy of the time, helps us to swim in the right direction and move through life with a bit more ease and grace.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, guys, there you have it. Again, don't forget to check out all of Adam's lovely content. His channel and his Linktree are in the down bar below. And again, his YouTube is basically a giant crystal encyclopedia, and he's got all kinds of wonderful oils and recommendations and tips and tricks for essential oils on his Instagram. And so check him out, please. Let's show him some love.
Thank you very much again for having me on, Nick. And thank you very much, everyone, for joining and taking some time to check us out and hang out with us. Blessed be.
Yeah, blessed be. We will see you all again very, very soon. And yeah, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe here as well. I'm not just giving it all away. Show your love.
Yeah.
No, we'll see you all again soon with more astrology and some astrology remedies and some astrology boosters that you might want to take on just to give yourself a bit of an edge as we continue to go through our journey. Y'all take care now, and I will see you all again very soon.